Okay, so let's unpack a pretty wild new rumor that could, and I mean really could, completely change how we think about Apple's AirPods. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but you know what? It might just be closer than we think.
Just stop and think about that for a second. It's such a simple question, but it has these huge, sprawling implications. What if the tiny little buds you pop in your ears had eyes?
Yep, that's the heart of it. We're talking about Apple's next-gen AirPods Pro potentially having built-in cameras, and we're not talking about some grainy little webcam here. The rumor is a sophisticated new sensor system built right into the earbuds themselves. Okay, so where's this wild idea even coming from, right? It sounds so out there. Let's take a look at the sources who are actually putting this out there.
So the first real mention we have comes from a leaker and prototype collector who goes by Kosutami, and their claim is incredibly bold, that the future AirPods Pro will be able to see around the wearer. And check out the phrasing there. It's not just have cameras, it's see around you, which kind of suggests something way more advanced is going on.
And this isn't just one person shouting into the void. This claim is being backed up by, one of the most reliable names in the whole Apple leaking business, supply chain analyst Ming-Chi Kuo. He adds a really crucial detail. We're talking about a tiny infrared camera, and it's part of what he calls a more significant hardware upgrade that's supposedly slated for 2026.
Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. While both our sources seem to agree that yes, cameras are coming, they have very different ideas about what this new product actually is.
So let's break down these two competing theories. On one hand, you have Kosutami, who thinks this is just the next standard AirPods Pro 4. It'll replace the current model, probably at the same price. But on the other hand, another leaker, Instant Digital, is suggesting that this is a whole new, more expensive tier that would sit above the current Pro model. So the big question becomes, is this an evolution for everyone, or is it a new premium option for just a few?
Which, of course, brings us to the million-dollar question. Why? Why would Apple even think about putting cameras in earbuds in the first place? What's the problem they're trying to solve here?
Well, the main theory, the one everyone's leaning towards, connects right back to Apple's huge bet on spatial computing, the Vision Pro. These infrared cameras wouldn't be for taking photos of your friends. No, they'd be for recognizing your hand gestures and creating a much more immersive experience when you're using the headset. Just imagine controlling your virtual environment with just a subtle hand movement that only your AirPods can see.
But here's the thing. This is where it gets a little weird. A major hardware update in 2026, coming so soon after other expected releases, would be, as the analysts put it, somewhat unusual for Apple's normally very predictable product cycle.
And if you look at this timeline, it really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? So you've got the Pro 2 debuting back in 2022. Then in 2023, we got that minor USB-C update. A full-on AirPods Pro 3 is already heavily rumored for 2025. So then, to squeeze in another major hardware release with these cameras just 1 year later in 2026, it just feels super compressed. It totally breaks from Apple's usual 3-year cycle for the Pro models.
All right, let's get down to brass tacks here. Even if the tech is amazing and it's all for the Vision Pro, there are some really big questions and, honestly, a healthy dose of skepticism coming from the community.
First up, let's talk money. If you look at Apple's current lineup, there's a pretty huge price gap between the $249 AirPods Pro and the $549 AirPods Max. This actually lends some credibility to that theory of a new, higher-end Pro model. It could slot right into that empty space perfectly. And, this wouldn't be happening in a vacuum. Apple would basically be following competitors like Bang & Olufsen, Bowers & Wilkins, and Bose. They all already have a really strong presence in that premium, high-end earbud market, way above the standard Pro price point.
But it's not all about price. The community has some really valid concerns, and they pretty much boil down to 3 big things: privacy, practicality, and, of course, the big one, battery life.
Yeah, this first one, privacy, this quote from a user, HV Dynamo, just nails that feeling perfectly. Please know, I don't want cameras on everything. It really does raise that question. Is there a point where we just have too many cameras, especially on something we wear so intimately, like right in our ears? Then you've got the simple, practical questions. The how would this even work stuff. A user named 2bytes summed it up perfectly. How are the cameras going to see through this? Are they going to see through your hair, or if you're wearing a hat? The basic physics of it seem really, really challenging.
And of course, the big one, the ultimate deal breaker for any wearable, battery life. As this user points out, cameras are absolute power hogs. How could Apple possibly run a constant camera sensor without completely destroying the battery life we've all come to expect from AirPods? It is a massive technical hurdle.
So, when you step back and look at everything, the leaks, the competing theories, and all that very real skepticism, it all really boils down to one fundamental question. Is adding cameras to AirPods the actual next evolution of personal computing, the missing piece to unlock spatial computing for everyone? Or is it just a really cool, futuristic-sounding solution that's desperately looking for a problem to solve?